Good morning, DGens. Why are you guys here? Did Mario not scold you enough yesterday? Confused, you know? Observing. True. Surely.
At 10 a.m. Eastern Time, we get Richmond Fed Composite Index, forecast -3 on the prior -5.
Okay, let's get some levels down. Music is probably loud. Sorry, let me turn it down. Yo, what? My NTC is mooning. Holy. So right now, all we're really trying to do is we're battling for Globex highs. We make these supportive, then we can see a push. We have a very clearly established range. I gotta find what charts are what here. Sorry, I haven't looked at a chart since the last time I streamed. Very defined range, though. You see what I mean? So until we see a push over this out of value and the ability to hold out of value, you kind of just need to respect this 4830. We can look for our next target being this like 34, and then above that we look for probably this 44, to be honest. But until then, you have a very clearly defined range, right? Very clear. So until you see a push and a hold out of value, you should respect this as where our seller is and where our buyer is. YouTube chat is not working for some reason, so if you're trying to talk in YouTube chat, I'm not ignoring you, I just don't see it. Just an FYI. Not sure why that's broken. Delete that. You don't need 2 copies of this. Save, delete.
So keeping an eye on the markets, following the markets open here. The dollar's extending its drop. That's the Dixie down 0.5%. S&P found its way flat on the session now as well.
1 minute remaining.
Yeah, so here's your first like real test into 29s. So you need to see a push above 29s and then buyers willing to hold for a push
Minus 11, minus
out of
11.
value.
That's lower
Or
than
this is just the
forecast,
top of the range.
-3.
Let's make this a 3-pin. Why not? ES. I do ES here. What happens? ES. H. Nice. Okay, and then RTY. And NQ. Let's add.
We have posted the Richmond Fed Manufacturing Activity December report on the feed for all those interested.
Am I blind? Probably. Don't answer. Okay, sick. 1 minute. 1 minute. 1 minute. How's everyone's little mini break? You guys doing? You're gonna be way too confused if I leave the dev tools on this. Shapes. Work, eat, drink, fun. How about you? I don't really celebrate the holidays, so it was okay. Just had like dinner with my family. Yeah, we had Chinese food. It was all right. I think you're basically just looking for this node to hold. You're just looking for a VWAP, right? So you wanted to add, I would say you're looking to add a VWAP, right? Oh yeah, and congrats, man. Like I saw Darian's post. That's huge. I'm glad that you're having so much success, man. If you're in at 21, I would say that you want this 24 to 25.50 to basically stay bid, right? Because all you want here is you understand that this is the high, right? All you're looking for is for buyers to be willing to buy at the mid of this range, if that's kind of like what you're looking at this as. You're in at the low, right? So like you don't really want to give up that average. And so you're willing to basically say, I want buyers to try to auction us at the high of this range, and I'm expecting a flag to form. What I want to see happen is I want to see any dips outside of this node, right, get bought. And you want to see it push out. And I am willing to put on a bit of risk for that idea, understanding that we are at the high and that technically there isn't any real breakout until we get over this ETH high and push, right? But the idea here is that you're in at the low. You want to be able to potentially average if we're going to get a continuation. Your best place to average is going to be this POC to VWAP area. And your idea is that you're willing to put on a bit more risk because your average up will basically be at that same level. Yeah. Understand that NQ is leading us down though. So what you really need to see happen is the things that are leading us down need to find a bottom, right? And what you're looking for a bottom is going to be, there's a lot of points of interest here at ETH high, POC, VWAP, previous low, all in one area on NQ, right? So like this area becomes pretty high value of where you want to see a bounce happen and a bottom to be found, especially with the Russell maintaining higher lows. So ideally what happens here is that the Russell is able to hold Globex high and we're able to bid off of this node. And you need to see NQ stop selling and get its shit together, right? If these two things hold true, that equals a higher low on ES. Mm-hmm. It's only gonna. I'm not planning on like trading much today. I'm not gonna lie. I'm really not a fan of trading pre New Year. After Christmas, I think that the trading's pretty garbage. We'll take a couple trades today, but I do not plan to be here for the entirety of the day because it is a waste of my time, and it is a waste of your time. We will get much better trading in the new year with proper risk. So just keep that in mind that I will probably be out of here like 12-ish, 1-ish, depending on how bad the market is. But I will be here for a bit. See what happens here into ADR and VWAP on NQ. Ideally, we really want to see a bottom here. Russell still maintaining, and ES pushing back down into VWAP and VOC. Again, if you're just getting here, we are acknowledging that we are in a very clearly defined range and that we are trading around this node. And for any continuation, you need to see a break and hold out of value. I don't know why I did that. That's a little scuffed. Sorry. A little scuffed. You need to see a break, retest, and hold out of value or we will continue to oscillate in between this range, right? And the same thing goes for the lows. If not, then we will continue to just do one of these boys. Chop, chop, chop. So really the only trading opportunities are you willing to put risk on at this low? Are you willing to short this high? Or are you willing to wait for a push and then a clear showing of a buyer? Or are you willing to wait for this retest on a push below and for the seller to step in here from the offer, right? Like that's really it. And there's a small scalp trade that you can try now where we are looking for buyers to hold the mid of this range as supportive. And what you have to work with here is that on the 15-minute, we have an FEG that can be used as your supportive level where you're looking for buyers to be able to defend. And that level is here at this 24.75 to 25.50, right? So you're really looking for buyers to defend on any pullbacks into this. And we look for seek liquidity if we fail to break the highs. And so like you can try at the mid here, looking for that buy side liquidity. But really you should only be looking at these edges as we have a pretty defined range. The reason why you'd be willing to try this is that we had a pretty clear and significant buy candle back to the upside that's created an imbalance. And so if this buyer is still present, they're going to be trying to get filled here. Ideally, that's that, you know, that's the whole FEG theory thing of why imbalances exist, and that when we come back down to fix the structure, we'll be expecting buyers who are unable to get filled here on retest. So yeah. The Russell is still selling off. Not a great sign, but we have come down into a buy-side imbalance. But just keep in mind that without NQ, you don't really have a reason to think that the market is going to break out, right? It's hard to believe that the market's going anywhere but sideways, with the Russell going up and NQ going down. So until NQ shows that it wants to hold above VWAP, just kind of expect nothing, you know? My voice is soothing in the morning. Appreciate it. I am so tired. Oh, Lord. You have off today, Tatum? I guess you do, yeah. Sorry. Let me mute that. $3 hours worth? You really need to see a buyer step in here at Globex low on NQ and our FEG fill in ES. If they were going to do it anywhere, I'd want to see it here. If not, we look for a pushback down to 21s on ES. So let's see if a buyer is willing to defend this 24. Again, without NQ finding a bottom, there's not really much to expect here, right? Need to see this Globex low holds and push back above, or this is just going to completely come back down. the bottom of this range.
Seeing the S&P quickly extending declines here. It's down 0.15% in volume thin trading.
Volume thin trading is one way to put it. So what you're looking for here, again, is you're looking for either a strong seller to now defend this as resistance, or a pushback over this and a buyer willing to show their hand at a higher low, right? Either this range holds, these lows hold, or we look for a seller to now step in where this buyer used to be and show it that they're off sides. A good way to know what the hell is going to happen is NQ still selling off. Is it our leading signal? In my opinion, it is, right? We noticed the drop in the weakness in it. We saw the market tumble over. So you need to see NQ find this low, and you would ideally like to see this hold on the Russell, right? VWAP. We lose this on the Russell with NQ weakness, and then all of a sudden it's even more drastic to downside. So this is an important area we'll be watching to see if these bids step in. This is your retest, right? Bottom of our range. You really want to see buyers willing to defend this. This is your retest back into value here. So this is where we look for our seller to be at this 23.50, 24 area. We need to see pushback over this and then a bid. Failure here, this is just where you expect your seller to now try to push us out of this auction, right? So if you're bullish, you want to see price be able to push over that 24 and then hold it on a defense. If you're bearish and you want to break it down out of this range, you want that seller to defend that 24 and then aggressively kind of move price down without buyers being able to even get a foothold like they're doing so right now. But we want to see a break of these higher lows. I think watching this Globex low might be a good place to start on NQ. Remember that what we're looking for is continuation on this tech sell-off. We want to see weakness into this VWAP POC and the Russell. Because if the Russell breaks below, as we fail to break back above Globex low and recover back up to VWAP, right? Like if you're bullish, you're looking to see this move at least back up to this blue box for a retest. If it's very bearish, you just get trend continuation and a failure at Globex low and then continuation down, right? So far, the only reason to think that this is potentially trying to bottom is this higher low in Delta. But you need to see the Russell find this low here as well. And you need to see this
So looking now to the
happen
fear and greed index, 80 out of 100,
above
which indicates
over,
extreme greed. Crypto fear and greed index, 73 out of 100,
Globex low.
indicating greed.
These are Mario settings or what? What is this? That is so much cleaner. All right, you really need to see your buyers step up here if they're going to do it. This is your first test at Globex low on NQ. You really want to see them hold this higher low with this delta push and with ES now trying as well. You want to see the Russell be able to maintain here at VWAP. We don't want to see acceptance below this. Failure here, not a great sign, just showing acceptance basically at the bottom of our range from sellers for continuation down.
These little
What does Aptero say? Nothing I don't already have. This is just a terrible day to watch, to be honest. It's so liquid. So slow. The only thing that really I care about right now is the Russell really trying to get back over Globex high off of this VWAP bounce and these higher lows on NQ, right? NQ is leading us down, and so until we see a weakness again in NQ, it's hard to think that this isn't at least a local low. But we do need to see a push over 24s on ES for me to feel comfy that we're going to maintain this range. Kind of like your first risk off if longs from ES. Later, Kevin. But I think, like always, it's a good sign when you start to see delta bottoming like this. And that's what we were talking about. Like until you see this kind of formation stop and buyers kind of like not present actively, right? You should at least be expecting pushes back up to VWAP to show that there's acceptance below. So this is where I'd be expecting our seller's first real attempt to be at this 24 If we can push back over, just know that then there's potential for a lot of sellers to be offsides at the lows. You'd really want to see them defend that. So all of a sudden, if they don't, right, then we have a bunch of people offsides looking for that continuation down. If this doesn't hold, then if we do get back over into value again, then we can easily push back up and get some excess above. So it's just something you want to be very careful about. Understanding like what can happen if we do break through this. Remember, like, what is our Deepak representing here at this low? This is where a lot of buying participants are located, right? And so if we push back over and recover this POC before the shift, that'll be a pretty solid sign of back upside. But it's also where you expect sellers to be defending. We have two levels that I will always be kind of like watching on a retest back in. Are sellers willing to defend the original buy location? And are they willing to defend their POC? Right? Because we're labeling this as... what the hell is a displacement? This is new. Interesting. I'll have to look into that. Sell side. Right, so this is where your seller POC is. And this is where our buyer previous POC. And so like we can get this squeezy action if sellers fail to defend this on retest. And then we look at a push back up to your original sell. We can delete this. This is no, we push through it, doesn't matter. Yeah, we've been trying to like basically streamline them. Get them cohesive in color and formatting. Still a work in progress, but trying to get everything in a line with our charts. So again, this is where we expect our seller reoffer. Russell bottomed where we thought it would. NQ Delta showed us the low, pushing back up into that VWAP that we thought we would. So no real confirmation for continuation yet, but we did expect this on the hold of these levels, at least a retest back up to our VWAPs for acceptance. You look at the larger picture, the 15-minute, right? We're just at the mid. So we need to see that push back over that 2650, and then the hold of that is supportive for a push back up to the highs. Until then, you just have a very clear, balanced node being formed. My charts look like ass. These are a little messy for me, to be honest. Need to go in and clean these up. That we have a better understanding of where we're hitting our heads here. Wish I had YouTube chat working. I don't know why it's broken. Oh no. Let me just pull up the actual stream. Yes. Okay, well, it doesn't look like I missed anything. People saying Merry Christmas. So you're starting to see some weakness in NQ again. You want to see this hold at 72s. I don't want to see it go any lower than this. This is your retest of Globex low. Again, this is ES just back to the mid where we expect our salary offer off of the waterfall down. This is where you want to see a higher low show, right? Failure to hold a higher low here shows that a buyer is no longer very interested. You really want to see buyers defend this. Same on the Russell. It's the same test. Globex retest or extremes. But need to see a decent amount of follow through because any weakness here is going to be taken advantage of from sell side. Why 72? Because that's Globex low. 72, 75. And it's also your 15-minute halfway back. Yeah. And it would just be like if you put a, I'm gonna assume that if I put an anchored VWAP here off this low, that it's also going to be your AVWAP. Yeah. So you just really want to see a buyer kind of try to maintain that higher low as your defensive level. Weakness is just not a good look. So, right, we're like just trying to see if this previous buyer POC is now supportive again, right? We want to see if VWAP and Globex highs are supportive again. We're starting to see that delta weakness, right? We need to see NQ show that low, push over. Muscle weakness leading here. So far, I'm not seeing the interest for buyers that would be needed for this to maintain. RTY is still just holding POC and VWAP, but we really need to see some like acceleration up and like a test of over 80s on NQ. Let me just clean this up a bit for you guys. What did I just delete? Oh, that's not what I meant to do. I'm really not gonna copy with my settings. Bye. That's annoying. We'll maintain. Remember, Russell is leading down for this push. We've got a bit of divergence with NQ trying to hold a higher low, but we need to see the Russell just stop selling, really. And NQ back over Globex low. That's 72. 73 area. Or this is just going to continue down. Yes to 17s. Yeah. We'll have to see what happens on NQ retesting Globex low. Excuse me. I'm gonna recommend again that you should just not trade until next year. Here's your Globex low retest on NQ. And your first like real Russell retest. Previous buyer is now potentially our seller, right? This is where we'll be watching. So your first like sign of failure or weakness would be into this. Ideally, it comes back up to test view up, but like on a strong sell, this is your first look, always. Need to look for a delta shift. As of right now, deltas look like a potential bottoming is, they're attempting a potential bottoming. You need to see a push back over this, though, for you to feel comfy. You have a lot of potential pivots above of where sellers could be located, right? You need to see the Russell and NQ both show that they want to go up to uppies, right? Or this will just be seller retests for a push down and a little bit of liquidity before that move. I'm just gonna highlight this again. Oops. This is what we were talking about. I'm gonna go to a 5-minute. So what are we looking at here? Bottom of the range. So what you're looking for is for sellers to find value. They've shifted value down, right? We want to see another shift here. We just saw one at the highs, the mid, right? Now you want to see one at the low, which is what you're looking at. Right? See sellers pushing price down out of the range. So your next one is going to be looking for a relief buy here into the 1750 area, right? That's your next area of buyer value for a shift below. So we'll be looking for buyers to try here, and then for sellers to then try to build acceptance into this low of range, right, on a retest. That's basically it. So this is where our buyer POC is. We are looking to see if buyers are willing to show their hand here, the 1750, 1850 area, for a push back up into this 22, low of the range. And then, can we get back above? Or does that reject and continue down? That's basically your next area of interest, is just here. Maybe this is where we'll watch. My idea usually when we're in areas like this is like, if I don't know, have a clear understanding of where we're going at the moment, I take a step back. I look to see where value is below and where is a recovery of value above, right? And then I'm only interested in those two areas. Because if it's in the middle, we either don't want to touch it or we expect price to gravitate towards either, and they'll give us the entry that we're looking for, right? So this is where you want to see an aggressive buyer try to hold the 1750 to 1850 if they're going to. And then we want to see a rejection back up at day open, just as we have drawn out here. I'm going to just do it with the actual path tool so that it doesn't look as messy. This is where you're going to be watching for your sellers. First attempt is here from this buy. And again, you really don't want to see price like push below this area. It can, but if it does, I wouldn't be bullish until you see a push below and then a retest at a higher low, right? You want to see a rebid of this area for your interest for the upside if this doesn't just hold here. Right, so like you're looking for buyers to then defend that higher low on a look below and then a look above, if this doesn't just hold here. And then again, you're looking for sellers to be located here and here. So this is your first risk off into this 21-22 area if you bought that 1750, 1850. We want to see a push above, like we were just talking about. What we're looking for here is a recovery of this Globex low, the ability to hold, pop, and then push to retest this seller POC above. Until we see that, we need to expect them to try to hold this area. This is your seller reoffer. Where our previous buyer was located, we expect our seller to now try to defend. Remember that shift of value we were just talking about. So if I go back to this chart, just to highlight again why we care. This is where our POC shift is. We know buyers are located here. And so we expect them to try again down here. This is where our value is shifted. If our seller is moving price down, we need to then look to see where historical buyer value was. This gives us an opportunity of where we can start to pay attention, right? Where we're expecting buyers to kind of push price down into and where they'll be interested again. But now we need to see buyers push back over this, or this is just going to be sellers now defending where previous buyer value was, right? Just support becomes resistance in another term. You don't want to think about it in an auction. But I really want you guys to like grasp these concepts, because as soon as you do, then all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. If sellers are now located here, then we need to know that like buyers are going to, like, value is shifted further down. So where was it before? Then we just wait for that area. I just have the HD version of the daily profile on Tatum, but what I do, I turn everything off except for the developing POC in the settings. So I can just see the shift, the value in real time, while still being able to like zoom in. And then we just have that as our line of like, okay, we expect sellers to be located here because we see that shift below or above. For me, it just like, it helps create my narrative, and then I just trade around that, like on the recovery of that area or the push below. Yo, morning, Rory. So we're coming back up to that seller here at 80s on NQ, and we were at our seller on ES into day open here. So we need to see a push above and then a hold just like I drew, or this will be your reoffer. We have a bit of weakness on RTY, but every time I've seen Delta do this on the Russell, it's usually an attempt at bottoming, right? So just be careful, because I think that this has a potential to actually continue with if the Russell can bottom here. NQ showing like the higher lows. If the Russell Delta actually does bottom, right, when we see this basing, we are looking for a higher low to form for confirmation and then a break above. Is it worth trading today? I don't know, man. I'm only going to be here for like another hour or two and then I'm out. It's like a ranging market, but it's a good day to look at what's leading, lagging, and then play off of that. The liquidity is really, really poor. What about non-paper? Just again, where we are. Why is this area important? Well, it's a retest of the distribution, right? We're trying to break back in. This is acceptance back in to a push back up to the mid to our seller. This is a rejection and a push for continuation down. Just understand why we care about this area. That is why. Russell leading down again, by the way. Facing failing. You'll probably get a retest of ORL, but just keep that in mind that this was we didn't get what we needed. Now you need to see a recovery of ORL for you to be interested. This Globex retest and buyer attempting at 21s is fine. We're at our POC here on NQ. You need to see the Russell get its shit together though if you want this to move. I have like any sort of real merit. If you're in long still, just understand that you should only be in a runner. And until we reclaim 24s as supportive, I wouldn't average up. The Russell making that higher low there was your, like, what you needed to see for this move to, like, have validity. And it failed. But he said okay and then logged into Warframe. Love it.
Treasury 2 to 10-year yields extend slide 2-year to 4.25%. Euro franc drops 0.4% to 0.938, the lowest since January 2015.
Right, just remember you can sue Darian for that if it doesn't work. Oh, there you go. Good night. Huge edit. It's funny. It was fine, man. I just like ate Chinese with my extended family and talked shit, and then I don't know how I didn't get sick, honestly. I really don't. Like the one time where I was like, this is it. This is my life. This lady just like coughing all up on me for like 3 hours straight. But no, I'm fine. My dog got a bunch of presents, treats and toys and stuff from my family. That's about it. My dog had a good Christmas. Give it a week. Oh God, CJ. Yeah, my dog's set on treats for probably like half a year, which is great. Two of my cousins weren't even there because they had COVID. So it's just like something's clearly going around. Not a great time right now. Oh, how festive. Cute dog.
Pound dollar rises 0.6% to 1.2796, the highest since August 2023.
What about you, Darian? How was holidays for you? I know you're don't celebrate Christmas itself, but unless you do with your girlfriend, I actually don't know. Okay, nice. Yeah, yeah. I love that everyone does Chinese. That is a lie. This is your like last real attempt, in my opinion, with the Russell potentially bottoming here. All we're doing is basically just trading between yesterday's, or what, Monday? No. Yeah. 822 is like yesterday's high of day. And then yesterday's value area high at 48.16. So that's like just the zone that I've drawn. You need to see acceptance above or below for really any sort of move out of here. Very tight. All we're watching for is the Russell to find a low for confirmation of at least a pushback up to give a few points. Until then, we just have weakness and continuation from the top of our range at 29s. Now just pushing down. Still below that 80 level on NQ. There are not a lot of great opportunities today, and there probably won't be until New Year. Just an FYI. Yeah. Yo, what's up, man? What did Mario say yesterday? What was like his general opinion? Not the trade? Well, I mean, that makes sense. What I said as well. Smart man. Yeah, that's basically it for me as well. I'd like to see Russell push down one last more, push down into this 73.2 area. But if we can get over 22s again on ES and then show an aggressive bid, then I'll just play it back up. I don't care. I just need to see buyers willing to push above 22 and then hold, and then we can try to play it back up 26. But we need to see it first. Watching the Russell as we come into Globex low here. Or, what is this? Yeah. At 79s. Yeah, and Q retesting Globex low as well as supportive. Just want to see a higher low bid here. 22's no holding. You want to see that on ES. Russell trying to test Globex low. Trying to get back over opening range low, see if this is our reoffer or if we can push back, right? That's really it. God, this is molasses. You don't want to see this 21 buyer get taken. This is boring. Yeah, man. Come back next year. You want to see 21's hold here on defense from buy side. If this is going to do anything. I don't really want to see it any lower than this. You want to see 21's hold and then a push over 22, 25, and then pop. If you don't see that, it's probably not worth. Yeah. Because you want, like, basically Globex lows to now hold the supportive, and you want Russell to hold this high. Because what does this mean on the Russell? This is a recovery of a previous buyer, right? So now you have potential sellers offsides here at that 75 to like 78. And now if you have buyers rebidding off of this 81, kind of a big deal if NQ can just hold a higher low or upside, and then ES holding ETH low. That's kind of how I'm viewing it. So like you'd want to see this because then it's a potential recovery of the low of the range. Same thing for ES, where you want to see this 21, 22 become supportive again. That would be ideal. If sellers push this below, then you've kind of like lost all momentum on the buy side, and it could, you know, chop in between this range for the next 3 hours for all I know, right? Like you really want to see buyers like try to maintain this. Because if this participant like isn't really showing their hand again, and we're already kind of seeing that with how choppy this is, that like there's just not a lot of interest, right? And without interest, it's going to be very hard to get movement in the direction that you want. You're going to get more like volatile tails where we're going to need spikes in either direction to generate interest. And like, again, you just, it's not great if you're looking for a breakout trade and you're not in at that edge low. You have a lot more risk all of a sudden. Man, my vape is leaking all over the place. Unfortunate. I think about it like this. If I put a fixed range on here, like there's not, this is the area in which we're trading, right? With this low and this high being marked as where we expecting sellers at that 22.25, like to the tick, right? You see what I mean? Like we need to see the breach above and then the hold for that to be valid, or the seller's just sitting here. Like, but like seriously, like to the tick. With how illiquid this shit is. Like, it's pretty easy to find these levels. It's the same for this 29 level that we called as the high of the range. But, like, you need to see that lift above and then a strong bid. Or we're just kind of chopping. And you can see that this is... You don't want price to push any lower than here. This is the real reason why I put this on. Is that this is your higher low where you want buyer defense. And if this flips, this is like a complete showing that this buyer is no longer attempting, in my opinion. Right? Like you want to see POC to value low being respected. And then you want to see a push over value, which we have is basically this 21, but 21.25 is the actual like level. But what we're looking for is buyers to maintain this low, push out, hold, and then we're looking for a break over that seller for a retest of 24s. That's the ideal, right? That's the dream. But if this breaks below this value low to POC right down here, all of a sudden you now have to battle against this node that's here. And then you can hit your head on that, and then continuation down. That's why you don't want to see that loss of momentum. Because all of a sudden you're stuck in a range again. Okay, I'm going to go back up. Retesting that 22.25 here. Again, we want to see a look above and then a bid off of this area, or this is just where our seller's resting. This is NQ seller POC. Russell still maintaining the higher low flag where we're trying to hold this node. Come on, you can do it. Taking my first risk off here into 24s like we just talked about. Next is 26.50 for me. We can push above this previous seller. Ideally, we now look for this to now be our supportive area, right? We want to see a retest of this is our this seller basically gone. That's the idea. We know that we have a seller here, and now we want to see on every retest if we can pop and hold this as supportive. You can see a previous example of this exact this exact same thing here, right? This is what we're looking for, is that this is that 24 level. We see a rejection, push down into this 22.25 here, and then a push up, right? That's what we want to see here. Pop. This is your NQ VWAP test and opening range low. As we approach the Russell VWAP and this blue box above us, that is your next risk off. Either we come up into that 2650 on ES, or we come up into that VWAP and day open POC area on RTY. Whatever comes first, you want to be moving up stops as we approach that, because if we lose any sort of momentum with no liquidity, right, we just want to be aware of where our pivots are and making sure that we are ready just in case a seller does step in as we approach these levels. I don't know, guys. This might be my last trade. This was a this is too slow, man. Not worth. At least this move like made sense. And we like saw Delta do what we wanted, right? Like it did the thing. But this is just like VWAP retest, so we need to see if like our seller steps in or not. Yeah. When am I here next? Friday. Yeah, man. Have a good rest of your day. Yeah, I'll be here for probably like another 30, and then I'm gonna dip. See if we get continuation. Just have one runner. But we're pushing back up into these pivots. I'm not really expecting much here, unless like someone really wanted to punish these shorts that are in at the lows. No, I haven't been following him at all. 4-point increment DOM. So he's changing the like on quant where you can like change the points, like it just goes in fours. Is that what you're talking about? That's weird. Why would you do that? I don't know why you would, like, aren't your fills just terrible if you trade like that? I've never understood, like, the not having the granularity on the DOM. Like, that's the whole point, is to, like, see where people are positioned. I feel like this is just, like, a bad footprint. You know what I mean? Like, at some point in the near future, Brian Watt will discover what a footprint chart is. He's slowly catching on. Month by month, he's slowly turning into an order flow trader. I just don't get why you would do that for... I'll have to watch the video to hear what he says. But when someone brought this up last time, my entire point was always, why wouldn't I want the granularity of my
US
fill?
Appeals Court paused the Apple Watch import ban.
Like, we can snipe entries on NQ, having it on the granularity that we do. Like, to the decimal, right? So, if I'm trading in, like, a 4 points, and my usual risk on NQ is, like, 2 points, right? Like, it's already skewed. Like, usually I know if I'm wrong or not within, like, 1 to 5 points on NQ. Paxton Corp LLC. Interesting. Let me look. Why did he rebrand? What the heck? This guy's using Lux Algo? Hello? Are you sure this is him? So your next risk off into 2650 as we touch Russell VWAP here. Yeah, man. You as well. Have a good rest of your day. Basically just leaving a runner now that we're in. Just I'm gonna go back to our higher time frame chart so you can see where we are. Just seller reoffer here. back to our seller POC, we need to see a push above this 2650, and then we can retest the high of the range. This is where we said that there'd be potential buy-side liquidity at this 1750 to 1850. We then looked for the recovery of this 21 to 2225, and then the rebid off. That was the recovery of this range. We are now looking for a seek up into this 2930 area, right back up into these highs now that we've recovered the low. This is our seller reoffer here off of this node. We need to see acceptance back above for a push, and then continuation. This is your risk off until we see that the seller is no longer interested in risking in shorting here, right? We need to see a push above this level. We had our POC shift here. You can also see very clearly that this is the edge of our node in our distribution. So if you did not risk off with me into 24s, this is a very good place to consider taking profit or moving stops up. Until we see that push and hold above, you need to treat this as your high. The reason being, this is Russell view up, this is NQ supply, and this is ES supply. So until we see the push above, this is it. All right, later, Cass. Good job. What was it, JPO? What does it mean?
So Apple Watch sales ban put on hold by the appeals court. So again, appeals court putting on hold the Apple Watch ban.
You mean to go through over the trade again? Or like the idea of why and where? Any good positions? You mean like future positions or positions that we're in? This guy's not even in voice and he's trying to trade. That's crazy. Man said any good positions. Like I just gave the only trade. Holy shit. It's true. Yeah, this week I won't be posting anything in intraday ideas. It's just going to be on voice because it's too illiquid and the market is like you just have to be here. It's just one of those things. Like if you're going to trade this nonsense, you need to understand your risk, and we need to be like watching it together, and it'll be a live narration only kind of thing. Because if you're not in here and you're still trying to trade this, and you're looking for like a longer term position, like you just don't have a great idea of what's going on or like what the risk is. So I won't be calling anything out in like text. It's like you're here or you're not, because you already like shouldn't be trading this. Like Mario said, like he's not even opening his brokerage account. He's just here to narrate because it's his job. I am trading incredibly small, just like 1 lots, 2 lots at a time at most.
Turkey raises its minimum wage by 49% for 2024.
And I'm only attempting edges. Mm-mm. Big Amazon style girls. Feel like her backpack is a quote. Jesus. The Yoda. It is so muddy outside. What is going on? Non-stop raining here for the last 2 days. Yeah. What's the weather like for the rest of the week? If this freezes over, it's going to be disgusting. Weather.com. Okay. This is such a depressing forecast. You'd want to see a buyer step in here relatively soon. The shift in Delta, actually a decent amount of selling pressure up at this high. Need to see Russell pop back over, beat up, and then hold that as supportive on your my last attempt here before I just say adios. I'm really not willing to just stay in a position for the next 4 hours waiting for a breakout. And neither should you. I think a good lesson or a good thing to like start to think about is today worth your time? Just like point wise. Because they're like clearly days where the market's moving and we have like really nice liquidity and ranges are, their prices following to expectations, right? Like we're going node to node, it's doing it in a timely fashion, it's worth your time to be in the market and to be participating. Days like today, it's just, in my opinion, not worth your time, right? Like it takes too long to capture points. You have to be very accurate with your entries to not get caught in chop. And days like this require a lot more patience, but also just like finesse with your execution. Like technically, if you have a larger risk, it's fine, right? This chop doesn't really matter because then you're just buying the edge and you're just like accepting that like you're fine with the chop, understanding that like it's going to do that. But if you're scalping, like you have to be very precise, and then that precision only nets us like like 5 points, which is not tremendous, you know, like it's not a lot. And on like a day where we actually have momentum and liquidity in the market, we capture that same move, you know, in 5 minutes. So if we know that we're expecting a lackluster day and we're expecting a ranging market, and we're expecting like a lack of liquidity, just know that like your time is not, you're not respecting your time, you know? Just like continue to think about the days where you should be trading and the days where it doesn't make sense to be trading. Yeah, I guess so. Like Mario and I will be here because that's what you pay us to be, you know, to do. But it's also part of my responsibility to let you know that it's stupid to be here, you know? Yeah, it's just something to think about. Because there are like very clearly days that like you can expect volatility, and that's what we want. We want volatility because that gives us uh, some really nice areas to transact. But like this, it's just either you're in from the lows or you're caught the rebid at the 22.25, or you're just like trying to short here, right? Like there's not, you're either in at the low edge, the mid, or the high, which we've labeled. And now there's just really not much. Like this is your first risk off if you shorted at 26.50. This is VWAP. Like, are you happy that you captured 2 points? It took 30 minutes for those 2 points to be taken. You need NQ to find a low. It's leading here, right? So if the Russell loses its higher low with NQ continuing to fall, then you're going to get a new low on ES. You need to see NQ be able to find a bottom here, ideally, at this 80. Remember, 80 was our previous level we were looking at as our seller. So you want to see that buyers are now where our seller used to be. I can scroll out a bit so you can see what I mean. Just a very simple resistance becomes support on retest, right? We want to see that this seller is no longer present, that this buyer is valid, and that we were willing to push off of here. We now need to see a push back over VWAP over this 88 to 92 area for a showing that like we're actually going to be able to get the movement out of here right above this node and then hold. Yeah. Mm. So what do you think Brian Watt's doing on a day like this, where like NQ's in like a 2 point range for him, where he's trading 8 points, right? So it's like just on the Dom, it's moving up like 4, 8, and then like I don't know. What would his fill would have been at 84s? And now we're at 88s. Just confused. I don't get it. It's it's a good point because your first like real lower high on ES and on NQ, VWAP rejection. You'd want price to double bottom here. You don't want Delta to make a new low. Russell's fine still. EDD. Well, the problem with China right now is that you're gonna have a lot of defensive and speculative positions being positioned. Well, no shit, right? But because of the news from regulators that they might be backing off, and they're changing their views a bit off of the huge dips that we saw in Tencent and a bunch of the other Chinese names from the regulation news. It had terrible, terrible consequences. They lost like, I think like, what was that total number of losses? It was like in the billions. Yeah, 80 billion. Yeah, NetEase lost 20% of its valuation. Tencent, I think, lost 12% off of just speculative regulation measures. And so they're backing down on them a bit after seeing like the market reaction. So you're going to see a lot of like hedging and also just positions being put on via options instead of actual stock because of the volatility. So you have to be very careful because we don't know, right? We just don't have a clue. But you can at least expect a reaction to I need to go look at the charts, but off of like dramatic sell-offs like that are we can expect at least retraces, right? Halfway up that initial sell. I think NetEase is a pretty garbage company, but you can expect, you know, a reaction at least to that halfway back, I would say. Yeah, good luck, man. Tencent going down like that already just doesn't really make sense to me. It's not like their market share has changed. Like, it is an incredibly important company. Yeah, they're all over the place. Yep. It's, again, it's like, for them going down just year to date, it's just kind of nuts. Like, at some point, that is going to be a worthwhile longer term investment. When this regulation news comes out, like, actually, see what happens. It was misinterpreted as well. Like, it was just regulating the amount of money that could be spent on like a per day. They weren't actually changing RMT. Most World War III, yeah. Sure. I mean, yeah. I mean, in that case, we've got bigger problems. Imagine not buying Apple $1 puts for a year out, not thinking about World War III. Someone would have to like really screw up for like a real world war to happen again. I feel like, 'cause I feel like just like Cold Wars are the way to go now. Like what we're in right now, we're just way too interconnected economy wise for like actual world war. You just have all these little like pseudo wars. Like China is screwed in a world war. They're way too dependent on foreign nations for oil. They could be cut off so quickly. Only 50p? Well. Even the market makers aren't prepared for World War III, kids. That's all I'm hearing. You've seen Joe Biden talk, right? What about him? Oh, sorry, man. It's just like we're way too interconnected now. Like it would have to be. I'm just like thinking. Like the Taiwan, yeah, okay, sure. But like that'll be a land grab because something else is happening, like North Korea attacks like South Korea or something, right? Like it'll be something like that rather than like China actually starting the move. They would never be the first. I don't know if we're pushing through this. I'm gonna give it like another 10 minutes and then I'm out of here. 12:30. The problem is, like, in 10 to 20 years, it'll be too late for China. It's like the same thing with Russia. That their populations, they're just not making children fast enough, right? So like they'd have to do it like now or within like the next like 6 years, or their like population just it won't make sense. Like they'll actually just like end their future generations by having like a huge war and sending all of those kids into war. Like you just kill a generation, and they can't. They're already in like a huge decline birth wise. So you do that, and then you've like killed all future growth, and you basically just ruined your country. It's the same for Russia with this war that's happening right now. Is like their last ditch effort, because in 20 years or 10 years, if the birth declines continue at the rate that they are, like it's already over for them. You doing your part? Where did you get this list? CIA World. Oh, okay. 2021. 10 countries with the lowest birth rate. You have to look at their like overall rates, like by like the average age of their population. It's super important. Like, what do you think the average age of the United States population is? And how many men to women do we have? So like the median age in America is 38.1 in America. The median age in China is 39 right now, just to get perspective, right? You know what the average age of the population in Palestine is? 19. 19.6. Just to give you like an idea of like, that's like where we used to be, right? Like there, yeah. So like all of these like superpowers, their populations are aging. And so like you give it another 10 years, and without like these generations like millennials and Gen Z having kids, all of a sudden right? We don't have the workforce to support our economy. And we also don't have the military to support like the population. Like we've been barely able to fill like the signups for every branch of the military has been going down year by year by year. It's been harder and harder to fill. So these other countries, it's even worse. So like if a world war is going to happen, it would have to happen in like seriously like the next 10 years. Or like every population's like every superpower is just going to be old. It would be so hard to consolidate power in Africa. Europe has manipulated the ever living hell out of Africa. I mean, it's just like France has just completely shafted so many African countries. They own so much debt, and like so many of their currencies are dependent on the French. Yeah, I think that's a great way to look at it as well, Camille. And it's even worse in China, like by a lot. And they're very dependent. It's a bubble in itself. All of the construction, right? We already saw that last year, but like now with even the like the artificial construction and like all of the um fake growth that they've been doing in China, in that sense, like they can't even support the building. Like it's going to be even worse. Like you just don't have you have so much industry and like crappy jobs that have been pushed to China, and then you're not going to have the workforce in both like construction, but also like consumer staples that they just won't be able to remain powerful for. Sorry, I'm watching price. Like they just won't be able to fill the same jobs that they currently have, and so that like those jobs are going to shift to another country. You already see China kind of moving a lot of that to Africa, actually.
So the US 2-year Treasury yield hits the lowest since May 17th at around 4.258%.
Tesla bot. I'm just waiting to see if we break out here to at least 30s, and then I'm gonna dip. We're just trading at this 26.25. We know a seller's here. Hopefully we get the move here in a second if it's gonna do it.
So quiet on the news
And
front
then I'm
today,
out.
but analysts are noting that the dollar has tumbled to its lowest level in nearly 5 months amid corporate and portfolio rebalancing flows ahead of the year end. The Swiss franc leading
Maybe.
the G10
We'll see.
gainers amid
I want it to happen like
as
now.
global bond yields are falling.
And then I dip. I gave it 10 minutes. It's now been 11 minutes. Everything looks fine, like delta-wise and price-wise. I think they're a bit overwhelming at first if you don't understand what the hell's going on, and then I think that it's great that you're turning them back on to see if they work for you now that you have like a better understanding. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I really do think between Stacked and Patty that you have everything you need. Thanks. Come on. If we lose the higher lows on Delta, I'm just going to close, and then that'll be my last. That'll be it for me for the day. I can't be bothered to sit here any longer. We're not going to break.
And the US 10-year Treasury yield dips to around 3.82%. That's the lowest since July 19th.
Yeah. There was a point where they were doing that. They thought that that would attract people, having themes for their cities. There's actually a good video of some people I watched pretty recently, maybe like a couple weeks ago, of a group of people from France actually touring that place. Um, it wasn't as dead as people put on. But it is very strange. Here, let me see if I can find the video. I think it was a yes theory. Yes Theory did like a full world tour. I won't world tour, you know what I mean? A full tour of China. Here's the video. They did like a 20-minute video. Going through. It's very interesting. I mean, like they did a pretty solid job recreating it, but like there's some very clear issues and they like didn't finish it. But it looked like completely dead during the day, but at night it came to life. Pretty interesting though. It's not 1-to-1, and the like the fake Eiffel Tower is probably like, I don't know, 1/5 the scale or something. But it's still like, I don't know, it's very interesting. You'd want to see 24 hold here. I'm done. You've got liquidity resting at 23s. Ideally 24s hold though. You need to see if 24s bid here. You'd need to see it push over 26.50 like immediately, or this is going to fill the gap down to 22.25, and that's where you're going to be looking for buyers. On the larger term, this isn't a big deal. This is just a retest, and you're looking for a push down and then a pop. You really want to see 24 hold where our POC shift occurred. But if this can't get back over 26.50, you're going to have larger issues where we're going to have to come back down to this node here. And then you're looking for basically, right, liquidity to be present here. I'm out though. I really can't be bothered to trade this. It's just not worth. I hope that for those that stay, you get the move that you want. But I'm fine with us capturing this move. I'll be back Friday for the session. Hopefully we have a bit more movement, but just like really respect these ranges until we see, right, the very clear shift below our current buyers or the previous buyers, right? And then you want to see that become resistance. Just it's the same thing over and over again. Respect this as our range until you see this seller become our buyer value on a pushback. Just really not much here. All right. I'm sorry if you didn't get what you wanted out of today. Again, there's not much to be found here. We found probably like the only 2 good trades today. And we identified our sell levels and we identified the buy levels. About all you can ask for. You guys have a good rest of your day. Mario will be on tomorrow, even though he doesn't want to, and I will be here on Friday with Mario, even though I don't want to. Please be careful, trade safe, trade small, preserve capital, be ready for the next year. Okay? All right, you guys have a good rest of your day. Peace.